Hello, everyone, and welcome to Anything Goes with George and Jonathan. I'm George, and Jonathan has some family in town this week. They're only here, I'm think, for the weekend, so they're having a nice little get together, and so it's going to be a Anything Goes with just George today. But hey, I don't blame him. It's absolutely fine, but we do have a lot to go over today. Now, one thing is there's a lot of issues going on with YouTube. Specifically, I'm going to show you guys this. There's a guy who streams on YouTube, and he streams on Mixer, but he makes videos for YouTube. This guy has done this like forever. He's a good guy, okay? And his name is... Welcome everyone to the show. I'm not quite sure what happened to Jonathan tonight, but... Where is that coming from? Okay, that's off. Okay, well, why are you playing pre-recorded content? Whatever. Okay. Mixer's doing its own thing, so maybe we're on Mixer tonight. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm whatever on Mixer tonight or not. But this is something that is kind of been bothering me a little bit, and what it is on Reddit, and take Reddit with a grain of salt. Not everything you read on Reddit is going to be the truth. People are having a hard time grasping that. Why'd you fall? And so I made this video. And this video, honestly, I'm defending Boogie. He's human. He makes mistakes. Two, he used to do Francis videos, a little edgier character. Well, you can't do that on YouTube anymore. Boogie's gotten older. YouTube's changed. It's the way it is. But everybody's like, it's this big conspiracy, whatever. Well, I've got this video, and as you can see, like here, Boogie came out and actually made a video saying something about this, and wow, I couldn't believe this. But I mean, that's great and all, and I'll take the watch time. I'm not monetized channel, so I mean, I'm not making any money by doing this. But what I have a problem with is it's the like to dislike ratio. And it's like 41 dislikes. Where did I see that? Was it under details? Analytics. Was it analytics? Well, anyway, there's like 40. Yeah, look here, channel. There's one upvote, and like I think it was 41 downvotes. I appreciate if you guys watch the video and give it an upvote, because Boogie deserves it, and he deserves to be treated better than the way he's being treated by the community. And like I said, he is a good guy, and if he wasn't a good guy, I wouldn't be saying that. And if you don't like Boogie, don't watch his videos. Don't subscribe to his channel. There you go. I mean, that's the way YouTube works. Now, there's one other thing I do want to touch on, and I should run the intro, but let me get this in quick. There's a lawsuit against YouTube by the LGBTQ community against YouTube. And that's all well and good, but from what I'm understanding, I don't have the complete story on this. It's basically like people are leaving bad comments in certain channels' comment section, and that's why they're suing YouTube. It's like, well, you know what? Let me just show you this. Okay, like this video here. One guy did leave a comment. which, you know, that's great. And him and I had a little bit of a back and forth, and we kept it civil, and that's fine. But you know what? You right click here, or you left click here. You can report it and or remove it. You can report it, then remove it. That's your channel. That's what you can do. I'm not going to do that here. That's not the way I roll, unless it's something like really outrageously bad. Then yeah, I would do that. But I mean, come on, it's your channel. You have the privilege, the authority to remove a comment that you don't want or don't like. So on that note, let's run the intro.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Okay, now on to the first article, and this is a local story, so not everybody's going to be interested in this, but you know, this is something that really I wanted, again, something to touch on. The FBI arrests Ohio teen for online threats and finds 25 firearms and nearly 10,000 rounds of ammo. Authorities allege this person made online threats under the name Army of Christ against federal authorities and Planned Parenthood. Now, okay, what does anybody need with 10,000 rounds of ammunition? What does anybody need with 25 guns? You only have 2 arms last time I checked. You can only operate 2 at one time. Well, you could carry a few more. Yeah, well, guess what? You're only having 2 at one time. And this was in Boardman, Ohio. And that is roughly 45 minutes away from half an hour, 45 minutes away from where I live and Jonathan lives. So, and the Army of God is actually historically they are extremist religious group. And so, I mean, he's 18 years old. His life is done. I mean, they're violating his First Amendment and Second Amendment rights. You're a moron. I mean, come on. With rights come responsibility. Maybe people don't like hearing that, but that's the way it is, and that's the way life works. Okay? You want to go around making threats, and you have this massive amount, 25 guns. That's a lot, especially for one person. You want to tell me about how, this guy's being wronged or something? No. Because I'm sure there's people out there that are going to say it or believe that. That's just not the way the world works. Again, with rights come responsibilities. Go yell fire. And, I'm not advocating anybody to do this, but it's against the law to yell fire in a crowded movie theater when there's no fire. I wonder why that would be a law. I mean, and it's not a new law. It's actually like pretty old law, because people were doing stupid crap like that. Well, unless it's illegal, there's nothing. It's not illegal, man. So you can't be arrested for it. That's why they pass laws like this. So, I mean, this really is. It's really something, and Boardman's not that big of a town. It really isn't. But out of the frying pan and into the fire. Now, last week, Jonathan I did find out what happened to Jonathan. He wasn't feeling good, and he took a nap, and he said, he forgot, and that, that's understandable, especially when you're not feeling good. But this is an update to the story we did last Thursday or Friday, and that is Walmart responds, now claims no policy banning games exists. That's not what the problem was with Walmart. The problem was in response to what happened in Dayton and El Paso. Walmart took the signage for what they termed violent video games out of their, took them down and probably put them in a storage room somewhere, and we'll bring them out some other time out of respect for the families. But you're still selling guns. These people weren't killed because of a video game. These people died because some moron took a gun, loaded it, and went and shot up a place. But you're still selling guns, Walmart. Okay. Yep. Okay. Yeah. That. And this one was actually Jonathan's suggestion, as in this one. Donald Trump calls Hollywood racist. Says dangerous movies are being released. Right? Here's his tweet. Liberal Hollywood is racist at the highest level and with great anger and hate. They like to call themselves elite, but they are not elite. In fact, it is often the people that they so strongly oppose that are actually the elite. The movie coming out is made in order. I think they do. No. Okay. Well, that's enough. I mean, that's Endgame. That was dangerous. Spider-Man movies. I mean, there's been horror movies for the longest time. I remember, the movie that still stands out in my mind is Alien. I mean, for my time, it looks like, it's a Muppet, but it obviously looked like a Muppet back then, but it was still shocking the way they did the alien coming out of that guy's stomach. That was pretty amazing, and, especially for that time, but I wouldn't say I'm scarred because of it. So I sleep with the light on. I'm being funny. But to the next one, which is another Trump. Trump calls on the Department of Justice to work with social media companies to identify mass shooters. How exactly? I mean, if they make it obvious, like posting a bunch of stuff or, things like that. But then again, don't we all remember the article that we touched on last week, which was about how Trump wanted less censorship on or less bias on these platforms. Well, okay, but then you want the Department of Justice to work with these companies to identify mass shooters. What's wrong with this picture here? I mean, you're saying one thing on one side of your mouth, but then you're saying, well, we're going to have law enforcement work with social media companies to make sure that people are behaving online. I mean, what is wrong with this picture here? But in the end, it is what it is. But I'm sorry. Well, no, I'm not sorry, but the country depends on its president. We depend on our leaders to lead the country. This is not leading. It's not leading at all. This is just crap and excuses. All right? If you want people to behave online, you have to allow companies to police their own property. You like to be able to police your own property. Why would you not expect that out of a social media company? It's the way it works. And to the another story. Trump administration reportedly wants to extend national security phone surveillance program. Now, this is the same program that caught his phone conversations, his son's phone conversation, in which he was all up in arms about that. Remember that? Remember that, everybody? And how it was such a horrible, horrible, bad thing? And he wants their programs to continue. Well, of course they need to continue. That's not my debate. It's the, again, it goes back to the lack of leadership, the lack of decision making here. I mean, that is what it is again. And to our next story, a little bit lighter one. The Navy is reverting DDGs back to physical throttles after fleet rejects touchscreen controls. And I think this is really, I think it's a cool story in that instead of like pushing a touch screen and like ramping it up and then makes the ship go faster, you still will have the conventional controls that I guess everybody's used to having on a ship, because really with all the automation and everything that's coming, we don't need even to have people on ships, really, not anymore. But that goes to the next story. I mean, that one was a short one, but the judge bars Georgia from using the current voting technology in the 2020 election. Now, again, this goes to lack of leadership in the government. Now, I know constitutionally the federal government has no say to states how they conduct the vote. But to the same token, they can do incentives to, hey, upgrade your stuff, we'll help you pay for, upgrading and, upgrading the technology, upgrading the hardware, upgrading the software to make it more secure and more thorough. And what this is, though, is that the current Georgia voting machines don't have a paper backup. So you go in and you vote. And let's say you voted for, the Republican candidate. Well, the machine may change it to the Democratic one. You don't know because it doesn't print out anything. And the voting auditors, the people that actually count the votes, have no paper backup to say, okay, yeah, this person voted this way. Do these two sets of data, do they match? And the way Georgia does it now, that's dumb. There's no accountability. There's no paper. Here in my state, in Ohio, when you go to vote, yeah, it's a touch screen and you select your things. And there's a printer on the side. And when you're done voting, it prints out the first page of how you voted. And it shows how you voted. And then you select the next page, or, however many, might be one page, might be 3 pages or whatever. But you can review how the system recorded your vote. And there is a paper backup of the vote, how I voted. In Georgia, it's just a straight electronics, no paper. That's just room for, manipulation. And if for anybody and everybody who used to get loot crates were or are a subscription-based service, and what it is they send you a box full of like trinkets and toys and books, like this kind of stuff that are comic booky type thing. And they filed for bankruptcy protection. Now, as it says here, they're promising to ship their final obligations. But if you have a year and a half subscription left, I don't think you're going to get all of your loot boxes that you're expecting. So, I mean, I would advise Just this is just my opinion. You know, I don't have that type of thing, so I would say don't renew your subscription. But yeah, I mean that was pretty cool. I mean, I guess they have some competition, so maybe one of the competitors will buy them out and fulfill the orders. I don't know. That would be up to a bankruptcy judge. And to our next story, which is Facebook reminds private groups we're watching. And they're like, on Facebook, I'm in a group called We Are Italians. And it's an invite only group. You have to kind of be invited into the group. And that's what they're talking about here, private groups. And Facebook is saying, hey, just because you're, not open to every single person on our platform doesn't mean we're not, monitoring what you're doing. And as they should. Unfortunately, like I say, in this time, I mean, everybody has an internet connection, and anybody can say whatever they want. Well, the problem is a lot of people, it's still a minority. It's an extreme minority of bad apples, and they're ruining it for the bunch. It's ruining it for everyone else because of, people can't, I'm anonymous on the internet. Well, you're actually not. Just people think, this person doesn't know who I am or is on the other side of the state. What are they going to do? Come over here and do something to me? Highly doubtful. Well, I would agree that's highly doubtful. But to the same token, just treat each other like you would want someone to treat you or a member of your family or whatever. Do we really need to get all, I'm 52 years old. Do I need to start acting like a 5-year-old, like Commander Orange in the White House? No, I got no time for that. Come on. But on to the next story, which is Elon Musk apparently still wants to nuke Mars. Yeah, okay. Now, what the theory is, and NASA's come back and said it won't work, is supposedly if we put set off a nuclear explosion on Mars, that it would help to generate, greenhouse gases to give Mars an atmosphere or this or that, what I mean, turn it more Earth-like. Why don't we, I don't know, Elon, work on the problems with this planet first? Why don't we do that? How about that? Or is that too leftist an issue? Last time I checked, we all breathe the same air. But to the next story, Apple to fight $14 billion tax battle in European court next month. And this is actually pretty, it's to me, it's kind of funny. It's actually 13 billion euros, which is 14.4 billion US dollars. And that's the tax handed down by the European Union in 2016 to Apple. And Tim Cook has come out and says it's political crap. No, if you owe them the tax, pay the tax and move on with your life. Or if it's a penalty for something, pay it and change your practices and move on with your life. But for those of everybody who have been get a bunch of robocalls, even the robocall blocking apps have been caught sending your private data without your permission. Now, the one thing that I found, I mean, that's always a bad thing, but there is one service in here which is Trap Call, and unless they've changed, Trap Call is a pay service. I could be wrong, or it has a pay component to it. So Trap Call, if people are paying for your service, Why are you still selling their information to third parties? Isn't that the point of your thing, is so people don't get these phone calls? So you're going to now sell their data so they can get more of those calls so you can block those? That makes no sense to me. But then again, it's business in this day and age. But a little bit more techie news. Now, we talked about AMD releasing the new Radeon RX 5700. It was probably about a month ago. And now the custom vendors are starting to release their cards. And what they do is they take the card, the graphics card, and they do this with it. They put a beefier cooler on it. But they don't mess so much with they don't mess with the electronics of it. They, put their own customized cooling on it. And some of them are really, they go above and beyond what the standard, because it comes with what's called a blower style. What it is one fan. It blows the air across the card and out the back of these ports here. Which, that's good, but this is a better configuration. This will kind of heat up your case. Now, there was a company I recently watched a video on, which they've released. It's called Redragon, if I remember right. That's what it's called. And what they've done is they've actually put a third fan. So what it does, the way it cools, is this fan is closer to the front of the card. Then this cooler, of course, is in the middle, and then there's a third fan here that not only helps to cool the card, but it actually will blow through the case, because where the back plate ends here, it's the fan frame with a guard, but the third fan will partially cool the PCB, the graphics card, and then the other part of it will blow through the case. So that helps to circulate air through your case, so it helps to keep everything as close to ambient temperature as possible, which is always a good thing. And that card was $450 if you wanted the special edition, $440 if you wanted the regular edition. I think it just comes with a better retail box, and then it comes with a mouse mat. One other thing about this was I've seen more than a few reviews about the RX 570. It is a competitor to the RTX 2070 Super. In some testing, it did do better. In other testing, it didn't do as good. There was a few tests where it was about equal. So, value for the money, this was about $50 cheaper than an RTX 2070 Super, and it goes like pretty much toe-to-toe with it. When you get the ups and the downs, kind of negate each other. They're more or less the same. But it depends on the workload, what you're doing, as to which way you're going to benefit more from this card or benefit more from the 2070 Super. But it's good to see that NVIDIA is getting some competition in the graphic card arena. And we are off to the next story, which is, now this deals with, it was a couple months ago, Jonathan and I did an article about Microsoft potentially coming out with a competing hardware to Google's streaming gaming service. Well, apparently that's not what's going on. Microsoft isn't working on a streaming only Xbox, however, right now. And I assume that, maybe that might change in the future, but honestly, what would have to happen is internet infrastructure would have to increase dramatically, especially in more rural areas where there's less population, because that's it. It needs a lot of bandwidth, a lot of transfer speed to be able to, you press the button and that has to go to a computer 100 miles away, and then it has to render that in the game and then send that signal back. Well, if you have slow internet speed, you're going to press that button 2 seconds later. That's when your shot's going to fire. Well, until there's a lot more speed given throughout the country, that, to me, that deals with infrastructure, at least in this day and age. I don't see really streaming at this time being really absolutely viable as an option. Now, to the next story. Now, your favorite virtual assistant, and that's Apple's, Amazon's, and Google's, is making us less polite to fellow humans study. Now, that headline is misleading because in some ways and not in others. Not adults like me or, older people who are already grown and have matured. It deals with the kids. In the kids, that's not necessarily the case. And that could actually be an easy fix that you could, if, you have parental controls, if these platforms, hear your kid using a swear word, to say, now, Johnny, you need to tell me what you want, and you need to not swear at me about it. That would be a very simple fix. Because, that would be something I'm sure that can be easily implemented. And to the next story, Epic added the heated mechs to Fortnite so players could win. And I thought this was kind of funny. And this is season 10 of Fortnite. I don't play Fortnite. I don't like it. If you guys like it, that's fine. I don't. It's my preference. I just don't like it. I like Apex Legends. Oh, it's a dying game. Well, you know what? I like it. I like it because it's realistic, more realistic than Fortnite. But that's my preference. It's a game I like to play. And the thing is with this, you have to have two people, and then you can get into these mechanical, excuse me, the brute mechs. And they say that people are saying, they're just overpowered. It's too easy to knock down structures, which is like half the game is building the structures, the skyscrapers that everybody seems to build. And it's too easy to kill people with them. And then it's just the two of you jump in there. I guess one steers the mech. Sorry. I'm going to get my little bit of pop here. While the other person fires. And that can be, especially if it's high powered, that could give somebody a definite advantage over others. Now, if it's a mech versus mech type thing, that's different. But if it's mech versus people, I could see the point. And to the next article we have for tonight is Square Enix hit with more death threats. They canceled a game tournament. Now, this is in Japan, and they did catch the guy that was making these threats. But why? Why? It's a game tournament. Why would you have a problem with game tournaments? That you're going to send death threats? It's just it's beyond my rational thinking. There's no way for anybody in my mind to justify that. But to another Japanese story, that is, Japanese researchers build a robotic tail to help keep the elderly upright. And this is kind of cute. Let's see if I can play this here. Of course, we have to watch a stupid commercial. Okay. I don't get what they're trying to sell me. Okay, move on. And what it does is it compensates for how you move, and it helps to keep you centered so that you don't fall nearly as easily. Now, supposedly in evolution, at one point, we as humans had a tail. So this is kind of cute. I don't see it being practical, but if it helps prevent people from falling, cool. And for our last story of the evening, and this is another pretty funny one, someone left old TVs outside 50 homes in Virginia where a TV on his head. And no one knows why. This is kind of creepy and funny. And he turns and bye. And I don't think they did. I don't think they said that they caught him. TV's on the doorstep. It was very Twilight Zone. That's why it's creepy. Received exact TV. Carefully placed, face forward towards the door. Some deliveries were caught on residents' doorbell cams. And yeah, that is pretty bizarre. Here's like, during the day. But I don't get why someone would do this, but that is what that is. Now, this is going to be, we're 37 minutes in. That's what I got for everybody today. Believe it or not, it took me about 2 hours of research to come up with these. And a lot of articles are literally hours old. Just find out, Jonathan was going to be on, but then something, with the family, they did a little change of plans. So I hope he's having a good time. And I'm George. Welcome to, again, this is Anything Goes with George and Jonathan. Knock on wood, Jonathan will be with us again next week. And hopefully everybody has a great weekend. Enjoy the weather because it is August, so we all know what's coming. And we will catch you guys same time next week.